Hi there, homespun friends. It is Sherry, and it is wonderful to see you on this Monday. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. I'm here enjoying the bright, beautiful sunshine in my corner of the world. We had a dreary, cold weekend, and it is so nice to finally see the sun come out. And in my heart, as it gets near the end of January, I'm always thinking of spring. Do you guys get spring fever right in here? You know, as you're getting to the end of January, you still have February to go. You still have a little bit of March to go. Here in the South, usually by March, we're starting to see a lot of signs of springtime coming around. But it is definitely a time at the end of January when I start thinking ahead to what is going to be growing and what am I going to see blooming soon? And I get excited about that. Well, we had a busy last week. I don't think I've seen you maybe for 2 weeks now, and we have had some busy days going on. And something sort of tragic happened last week. I killed my sourdough starter. Oh, I just can't believe I did it. I'd had that starter for a little while. I absolutely love that starter. It was great and vibrant, and I'll tell you how I did it. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to assassinate my sourdough starter, but what I did was, because my kitchen was so cool on the day that I was feeding my starter, I decided I would turn on my oven light and I would sit my starter inside of the oven and let it double in size as it's supposed to do, and it would be warmer in there than just letting it sit out in the open air in my kitchen. And it sat there for a little while. I checked on it a couple of times and it was looking absolutely beautiful. In the meantime, I had started 2 loaves of yeast spread. I'd mixed up the dough. I'd let it rest. I'd let it rise. I had let it rest again. I had formed it into loaves. They were in the pans. They were ready to be baked. So I went over and I started preheating my oven. And I smelled something and I thought, what is that? And I realized, oh no, I left my starter in there. The name of my starter was Fred. Well, when I pulled Fred out, it was greater than 90 degrees in that oven, and that's the temperature that actually is the cutoff point for killing your starter. And so Fred was dead, and I was so sad because it had been a wonderful starter. So instead of getting all worked up about it, my husband said, don't even worry about trying to start your own starter in this crazy weather that we're having. You should just order a live sourdough starter. And so that's what I did. Second time I've ever done that. This starter is amazing. It comes in a few days in a little pouch. You scrape it out. It'll give you the website where you go to read all of your instructions about what to do. As soon as you get it, you feed it. You let it sit on your counter for about 12 hours. You stir it and feed it again. Let it sit for another about 8 to 12 hours. And then your sourdough starter should be pretty close to being able to be used. I actually fed mine another time before I used it. And then I have 2 loaves of sourdough in there right now, rising in my kitchen. And I fed my starter again, getting ready to stick it in the refrigerator. And what I do is I will go in there. I use a 1/2 cup per loaf of sourdough bread that I'm going to make. And so if I make 2 loaves, it takes 1 cup of starter. And then once I get down to the sort of, near the bottom of my starter, I don't ever use it completely up. I take it out, kind of let it warm up to room temperature a little bit. I feed it really good and let it rise and double in size. And then I put it back in the refrigerator to use again. So I'm usually feeding it about once every couple of weeks. So I thought I would let you see how beautiful it is. This is my new starter. And I have, this rubber band is sliding up. It was actually pretty far down here. It's risen quite a bit. And I have not named this starter yet. I'm not sure what the name of this starter should be. So you tell me your opinion on what you think I should name my brand new starter. When you name your starter, it gets personal. It becomes like a person. You have to feed it and be responsible for it. But I have learned that keeping sourdough is not really that hard, in making sourdough bread. It's not that hard at all. Even though I have had a couple of times when I've killed my starter, for the most part, it's super easy. And I think I gave you recently a suggestion to go over to the Rose Homestead and watch Mary's videos on sourdough. She has really helped demystify sourdough for me and helped me to recognize that it's not as complicated as I was trying to make it. I had watched a lot of videos of weighing grams and milliliters and all of that. It was overwhelming. I just felt like I could never get a successful loaf of sourdough bread. And I thought, how hard can this be? Because I actually have made sourdough bread before for many years using a potato flake starter. And I think I've actually shown you that on this channel before. You just mix your potato flakes, you mix a little sugar, you mix a little water, you stir it up, and you have a different kind of starter than this, which is basically flour and water. But it still works and it is effective for making bread. And so I had done that for years and it had been so easy, but I really wanted to transition into a flour and water starter because I think the flavor is a little bit richer. And since I now am grinding my own flour with my grain mill, I thought this would be a perfect time for me to jump in and do this kind of starter. But I was quite intimidated by everything I watched. But after watching Mary, I thought, you know what? I can do this. And I have done it, even though I killed my starter. And I'm very sad that I did. Sorry, Fred. I still have been able to persevere, bounce back, and purchased a live starter in the mail, and I have been able to get it to rise up now, and I'm making bread again with this particular starter. I just have to give this starter a name. So in the comments below, if you have a good name for my new starter, let me know. Now, another thing that I wanted to share with you is a few things that I got recently at my Goodwill visit. We have one of the largest Goodwills in the Southeast. It is wonderful. We have a Goodwill that actually has a coffee shop inside of it. They serve baked goods. They have a big reading room with all kinds of books. They have an electronics section where they do all kinds of electronics, computers, and just everything you can imagine. They have a party room that you can actually rent. And so it's a nice Goodwill. The Goodwill that we did have, same one, but they just relocated to a new facility and it's much larger and very nice to go over there and walk through that beautiful Goodwill. I love looking at their books. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I purchased maybe 5 or 6 books that day, but I'm going to show you 3 of the ones that I picked up while I was there. This has been one of my favorites. I haven't made anything out of it yet because, like I say, it's just been about a week I've had this book, but I have been using it and I thought, if you aren't familiar with this book, you may want to keep your eyes open for it. It's called Lazy Day Cooking. All kinds of slow cooker meals. Now, you guys know that I raised 4 children. My husband, I have 4 children, 2 sons and identical twin daughters. Our boys were big meat and potato eaters. Our girls were vegetarians. And so most of their growing up years, I did a ton of cooking. I was in that kitchen all the time, whipping up different things, learning new things that I could prepare and make for everybody and their needs in our family. And I got really tired of cooking. I got tired of it, to be honest. Now that it's just my husband and me, we often do a few times a week, go out in the evenings when he gets home from work up to one of our local cafes or restaurants and just pick up a simple meal that we can share together. Going out is fun, but we also love eating at home still. We enjoy being able just to kind of crash in together, talk and laugh and be at ease in our own home. You know how that is. And so, especially with the rising cost of things, I like to keep the ingredients simple. I like to make something that doesn't make a huge, large family batch, but it makes enough for me to maybe be able to enjoy a couple of lunches of leftovers. And so this book looks like it would be exactly what would fit the bill for that. I want to show you a couple of the recipes that I've just glanced at and thought, now this is something I think I want to make. One of them is called Easy Stroganoff. Now, in this book, you'll see it has about 6 recipes on the 2 pages. It looks like this. And you can tell by looking that it doesn't have a ton of ingredients or a lot of, complex instructions. Those kind of things put me off right now anyway. So as soon as I opened it and saw the simplicity of this, I thought, this is fantastic. Now, for your stroganoff, you're going to need a can of cream of mushroom soup, a can of beef broth. You're going to need a pound of beef, like stew beef, or you can use ground beef, a cup of sour cream, or 2 cups of cooked noodles. You're going to combine that soup and broth in the slow cooker. You're going to add in your meat, cover that up, Cook it for about 3 hours on high, then reduce it down to low for a few hours. Then you're going to stir in that sour cream and those cooked noodles, and then turn it back up to high for about 20 minutes, and you have supper. If you add a salad to that and maybe some sourdough bread, you've got a delicious meal. And that sounds like the kind of meal that I could make without it being a lot of work, a lot of dishes, or a lot of trouble. And the great thing about a slow cooker is, you know, you put everything in that one pot, and then after you eat, you just have the dishes you ate out of in that pot. And that's really very simplistic and easy. And you can toss all of that into the dishwasher and turn it on, and you are basically done. I love it. Now, I also noticed as I was looking through this book that they have numerous recipes for different kinds of green bean casseroles. Now, on these recipes, it tells you the person that turned in the recipe and where they live. And so it even has here like broccoli and rice casserole and barbecued green beans and Dutch green beans, all kinds of wonderful things, glazed sweet potatoes. And this particular recipe says you need about 10 medium-sized sweet potatoes, a half cup of butter melted, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a half cup of orange juice, and a half teaspoon of salt. And you can mix all that together according to these directions. It just has 3 little steps, and you have glazed sweet potatoes. That sounds really, really good. And most of these recipes look easy. It even has a dessert section and a bread section where you can make like apple nut bread pudding or simple bread pudding or slow cooker pumpkin pie pudding. Doesn't that sound good? That sounds like the holidays. It also has some super easy type drinks like spicy hot cider and mulled cider and hot cranberry punch. And so there's all kinds of different recipes that are available in this book, and none of them seem complicated at all. And so that's why I bought it, $1.39 for a hardback book at my Goodwill. And if you find a paperback book, it's only 99 cents. Now, in addition to buying this particular book, I bought 2 little books to go on my bookshelf. I love to keep some books that I can hold in hand and read whenever I have maybe a slow day, a snow day, or a day when I just want to chill a little bit, or a week when I see that it's not going to be especially busy, I'm going to have a little bit of extra time. I could pull down one of these simple books and read it, and I really like that. And if you're a person who might occasionally be in a winter storm or even a summer storm and lose power for the day, this is the kind of book that would be great to pull out and read. I found these 2 books in a series called Mysteries of Lancaster County, and these are guidepost books, but look how pretty they are. They don't even look like, really, to be honest, they've even been opened up. It doesn't even look like the cover has been cracked in these books. And so I'm not sure how they came about to be at the Goodwill, but I'm very glad. I glanced in them. They look so interesting. They're little mysteries. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I'm going to put these on my bookshelf. For $1.39 per book, you really can't beat it. You know, when you get ready to go to the bookstore or you look on Amazon to order books, you can really spend a lot of money. Like some of them are $25 or $15.99 or $18.99, and you get one little book for that cost. And so it can be super expensive. But I recently found another way that you can enjoy books without having to purchase them. And that is through your local library. And not just by going to your local library, but asking them if they have any type of electronic way that you can check out books. Recently, I noticed that I got an email that described to me how I could check out books electronically through my local library using my library card, but I would do it through an app that's available on my app store called Libby, Libby. Never heard of that app before, but I downloaded it. When I did, it asked me, where do you live? And it gave me the option to choose the library where I attend. And so I chose the correct state and then library. And then it said, put in your library card number. And so I took out my library card, put that number in, and it immediately opened up options for me to check out countless books. Now, I think you can check out like 3 items at a time. You can keep them for 2 weeks. If you want to renew them at that time, if you're not finished, you can. And if you are done after a day or 2, you can turn it back in and get something else out. I checked out 2 books right away and 1 magazine. I read the magazine within a day and turned it back in and checked out another. And they have hundreds of magazines. I mean, they have like People magazine, Mother Earth News, Birds and Blooms, and all these different magazines that you can check out on this app. And you just, on your tablet, you just swipe just like you're turning a page. It's full color. The great thing about checking out library books that way is, even though I love holding a book like this in my hand and reading it, when you're reading on a tablet, if you want the words to be bigger, you just increase the size of your font or choose a different font. If it's a particular cloudy day, you can actually make it a little bit brighter, or if it's late at night and it's really too bright, you can lower the brightness and make it more comfortable for your eyes. And so the tablet, like an electronic tablet, has a lot of benefits to it that we may not get from just holding a book like this. In addition to that, in order to get a book from my library, I have to get in my car and drive several miles across town and walk through there and find my book and check it out. And remember, at the end of that couple of weeks, to take that book back and turn it back in so I don't have to pay a fee. I've had to pay fees a few times over the years for, just especially when my kids were young too, because if we didn't get back to the library, if we were a day or two late, and all of my children's books had just a nickel or a dime on them as a late fee. Wow, that could be several dollars in no time flat, which I'm sure the library could use that. I'd rather just give them a donation than to keep their book and have an overdue book. This way, you don't have to worry about that. The app reminds you when it's time for your book to be turned back in. It gives you a notice that says your book is about to be due. Would you like to renew it? Or if you don't have any more renewals, you can turn it back in, wait a little bit, and check it out again to finish it up if you want to. It's a really great app. Check it out in your area and see if you have Libby available for you. And if not, you might have another type of app that your library offers in your area. I know that in some of the North Carolina areas, they have something called Cardinal, and there may be another big library that offers an app like that. So there's different ones available. Check it out, and it may make your life a whole lot simpler. If you are looking to read, as spring comes, you can read all kinds of gardening magazines until your heart's content. Friends, it has been a joy to spend a little bit of time with you, and like always, I look forward to seeing you next time. I love you all. Bye-bye.